What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham, G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content you watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the June 20th, 2022 edition of Raw Talk. And it is indeed still Raw Talk. I was worried that they might change the name of the show after they changed Talking Smack to the SmackDown Lowdown this past week. And I mentioned in my review of that show from a few days ago that they're calling this new after show on A&E after Biography WWE Legends and the new WWE Rival show. They're calling it, I think, Smack Talk, hosted by Booker T, which sounds an awful lot, like Raw Talk and Talking Smack. I guess they didn't feel the need to change Raw Talk, I guess we have Smack Talk and Raw Talk. Having it end in Talk is fine, I guess. But Talking Smack was too much of a similarity, I would assume, unless there's another reason I'm not aware of, because the format of the show is still the same. They're just now calling it moving forward the SmackDown Lowdown. That's just my opinion as to why they probably changed it. Thankfully, Raw Talk is still intact, but we did have two new hosts for this week, obviously just for this week only, Scott Stanford and Kayla Braxton, replacing Matt Camp and Jackie Redmond for this week. Scott Stanford's been filling in for Jackie Redmond the last week or two. She's been off busy doing other stuff. She has a lot of other responsibilities beyond WWE. We did not have Matt Camp this week. Matt Camp is pretty much in every single episode, but he was off this week in place of Kayla Braxton, who was a SmackDown girl, so she was not on SmackDown. This was Raw, so she was able to fill in. It was great to see Kayla Braxton back in a formatted show like this, because she was killing it on Talking Smack. When that show first was brought back in 2020, 2021, she was like the best part of the show, along with like Sami Zayn and Paul Heyman and everyone else she had as a co-host, Xavier Woods. And then they changed the format of the show, and she went back to being only a backstage interviewer on SmackDown. Now, she still hosts The Bump every Wednesday. I don't watch that show. I don't really give a fuck about it. I mean, these shows aren't really anything of note either. But we do have some exclusive interviews and stuff like that. But yeah, obviously, like I said, she's a SmackDown person, so they used her on this show as one of the, not talking heads, but one of the hosts alongside Scott Stanford. She did a good job. It seems like she's not done it for a while. I know she does The Bump, but she didn't host this episode. She was like the analyst alongside Scott Stanford, who did a majority of the hosting. So there were a few production issues. She kind of seemed a little off, but she did a good job, and Scott Stanford I always enjoy. So they opened the episode by telling a Father's Day joke, courtesy of Matt Camp, that gave it to, he gave it to Kayla to say here on the show, which was funny, before replaying Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles from last week. Why they felt the need to replay that, not the entire match, but replay the match, like the final 2 minutes of it, I'm not sure, because the match was last week, not this week. I feel like, if anything, they probably should have replayed the Riddle promo and Rollins attacking him, but whatever. Backstage, we hear from Rollins at Raw with Kevin Patrick, and Rollins says that Riddle was asking for that beatdown. He was out there, Rollins that is, to make a mission statement, and Riddle was merely collateral damage, he calls him. He recalls his first Money in the Bank cash-in from 2015, as he's mentioned a million times in the last week or two, and says that Roman Reigns has been dodging him. It's his destiny to cash in that contract successfully again on Roman Reigns, and he plans to do so. Back in the studio, Scott and Kayla preview the men's Money in the Bank field, which now includes Rollins, Sheamus, Drew, and Omos, who qualified on Monday's Raw. Booker T, who is the special guest analyst for this episode, he says if there's a will, there's a way, and he's putting his money on Seth Rollins to win the whole thing. And when Kayla goes on to talk about, the strategy, blah, 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 Booker T cuts her off rudely, which was weird, and says there's no strategy in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And as far as Omos being at a disadvantage, he says a whole lot of nothing about, maybe he can reach and grab it or whatever. His money is on Rollins winning the whole thing. And he goes on to praise Rollins some more and call him Mr. 5-Star. So, if you're looking for the biggest Seth Rollins fan around right now, it's probably Booker T, based off what he said on this segment. From there, they replay the ending of Asuka versus Becky Lynch in the main event from Raw, which was won by Asuka, qualifying for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, also kind of quickly recapping Lynch's post-match meltdown, a lot similar to Seth Rollins' post-match meltdowns from a few months ago going into WrestleMania. We hear quickly from Carmella after they replay the Fatal 5-Way match, and Kayla also said that we may not have seen the last of Lynch before Money in the Bank, so maybe teasing that she might qualify another way before the pay-per-view in less than 2 weeks. But, yeah, so they replay the Fatal 5-Way, which saw Carmella emerge victorious and become the new #1 contender to the Raw Women's Championship and Money in the Bank as Rhea Ripley got hurt. She can't be cleared for the matchup, so Carmella's taking her place. We hear from Carmella backstage with Sarah Schreiber, and Carmella says, listen, the crowd was mad that I won, and why? My resume speaks for itself. I'm a former SmackDown Women's Champion, Tag Team Champion, 2-time Miss Money in the Bank. I've done it all. She didn't mention, but she also won the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal years ago. I think the second one after Naomi won the first one. She won at WrestleMania 35 in 2019. And she also won Mixed Match Challenge in 2018. So she has done quite a bit for herself in the last number of years in WWE. But she won't apologize for being the complete package, she says, and she plans to take Bianca Belair's Raw Women's Championship. Back in the studio, Kayla picks Belair to win the match, but she also says that Carmella is being underestimated and that might work to her advantage in that matchup. When they come back from commercial, they show off the photos of the John Cena photo shoot, not of John Cena, but of people like Liv Morgan, Carmella, R-Truth, Theory, all wearing John Cena merch, which I saw on WWE.com and on their YouTube channel as well. It was a pretty cool photo shoot. From there, they replay the Bobby Lashley Gauntlet match series of wins, where he beat Chad Gable by submission, Otis by disqualification, in Theory by pinfall via a great-looking roll-up to earn a United States Championship opportunity at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view next weekend. We hear quickly from Bobby Lashley backstage, I think with Kevin Patrick, and Bobby says, listen, perseverance, or I think it was Sarah Schreiber actually, and he says that perseverance was what led him to picking up that win on Raw this week. He's a belt collector, I guess a la Kenny Omega, and is coming after that WWE United States Championship. He says Theory is tough, he's got a bright future, but someone needs to regulate his career. I'm a grinder, that's what Bobby says. He says he's a grinder. Get your mind out of the gutter. And then he says he'll be ready for next weekend when it comes to his United States Championship opportunity. To close out here, Booker previews the Bobby Lashley and Theory matchup for the title next weekend, kind of going over their pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses, stuff like that. He says that Theory is, I think this is what he said, Theory is cut from the same cloth as Bobby Lashley, which I don't know if I would make that argument. I'm a Theory fan, but I don't know if I'd go that far. Theory is cut from the same cloth as Lashley, and he wants to be great, does Theory. And he also, I think, picks Theory to win. He kind of makes a roundabout point there with Theory. I think he picked him to win that matchup, but I'm not 100% sure. But that was Raw Talk in a nutshell. We got some fresh faces on the show in Scott Stanford and Kayla Braxton, and it's always great to see Kayla in a setting like this, adding some more personality to the show that we don't ordinarily get. She did a good job overall. And yeah, we heard from Carmella, we heard from Bobby Lashley, we heard from Rollins, so got some star power on the show this week, which was nice, making for a fairly decent edition of Raw Talk for June 20th, 2022. Thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. And we'll be back here soon on the channel with more content such as this, reviews, previews, predictions, interviews, Q&A videos, and so much more. So if you haven't already hit the bell button to be notified of a new video coming every single day, please do so. You won't be disappointed. Also, new 2K videos coming soon as well. I've slacked on the GM, or rather GSM for GM videos. Those should be coming back fairly soon. I've just been very busy in the last month. Have a great one, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.